Hispanics are hardworking people and are glad to be in the United States, a country that offers freedoms and opportunities not found in other countries. We're people of honesty and integrity. However, the freedoms we enjoy are fragile. They can be lost if we do not take a stand to defend them. Our freedoms depend on the integrity of our government, and the integrity of our government rests on the integrity of our elections. Where there is voter fraud, this integrity is lost, and all Americans suffer from this assault in our foundational freedoms, freedoms who are based on our Constitution. Let me be clear, voter fraud is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democratic or a Republican issue. It is not a racial issue. It is not about Hispanics or blacks or whites or Asians. It is not about social status. Whoever commits voter fraud is a criminal, whether a Democrat, a Republican, independent, white, Hispanic, black, poor or rich. They should be punished for their attack on this foundational freedom. Some deny the reality of voter fraud, calling it a scare tactic. However, it is a fact, and it should scare all Americans. In the last election, voter registration fraud happened on a large scale. We saw that in Florida. We saw it in Pennsylvania. We saw it in Wisconsin, Colorado, where the deceased are voting. Dallas County had to stop using voter registration cards as a basis for calling on jury duty because there were too many people who are not U.S. citizens who are calling for that. However, the full extent of voter registration fraud cannot be known if it takes too much effort to investigate. Where voter registration fraud prevails, voter fraud likely prevails. Without the Texas photo ID bill, voter registration is the primary defense against fraud, and it still is not a perfect defense. Unfortunately, it is very easy to get false voter registration cards. All you have to do is to write down a bogus name and you get a registration card in the mail. The Texas voter ID bill has one purpose: to limit voter fraud. It requires each person to show his or her identification with a picture and to match the name on the voter registration list. It is a simple and logical step to reduce voter fraud. So why has Attorney General Eric Holder come to Texas and voice his opinion to this bill? He says that it discriminates against some voters. This is nonsense. It is the responsibility of the Attorney General to uphold election laws that reduce fraud and corruption. And voter ID is not an unreasonable burden on legal voters. In Mexico, they require every voter to have a photo ID. In Guatemala, in all the Central American countries. And guess what? The voter identification card has greatly reduced voter fraud in Mexico. If Mexico implemented voter ID, I think the United States certainly can implement voter ID as well. If you do not have a photo ID with you right now, please raise your hand. Because if you don't have one, you can certainly go and get one for free at the Department of Public Safety. This is not an unreasonable burden on legal voters. When honesty takes a second place in our hearts, we pull down everything good and noble that once surround us. We are trying to find out who is illegally engaging in voter fraud, no matter what color of ethnicity. It applies to all people, not just blacks and Latinos. We all have to show ID when we cash checks, drive a car, collect food stamps, register in a hotel, go in the airplane, buy a gun, and even when you rent a movie. So, voter ID is a common sense, no partisan solution. So why does Attorney General Eric Holder is trying to do? Is he trying to divert attention from the failures of his administration of the Department of Justice? Is he trying to remove the heat from the Fast and Furious scandal? Is he trying to campaign for President Obama? All these are an abuse of the public office to which he was elected. The Attorney General has the job oppose it. If he cares about the integrity of our elections, he would support the Texas voter ID.